Let me know in the chat. Let me hear from you, see what you are up to. We're going into our lead stacking system. Now, this is a strategy. This is a system that we've been using since 2020 is when we actively started using it in an active way, in a way that we've been coaching real estate agents on how to do that themselves. Now, I have personally been using this since 2017. So whenever I first got started in real estate, and it really has helped me just do a lot more with a lot less, meaning not overspending, not spending 60, 70, 80 hours a week in my prospecting game and really trying to secure business. So this allowed me to create a way for me to build the type of business that I want and also work the type of business that I want. So it's been extremely, extremely rewarding. So that's what we're going to get into today. Now, as you're coming in, a like is going to go a long way. Let me know that you're here. It's going to allow us to, it's going to allow us to have a good conversation. So let's hope that the audio is working this time, which I think it is. So again, if you are here live, let me know in the comment section and down below. If you're watching the replay, hit lead. So type in leads in the chat down below. All right, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about our lead stacking system. This lead stacking system that we have for our real estate agents has helped them produce insane results. We'll talk about them as we get going. But jumping right into it, our lead stacking matrix. So what is this? So we allow ourselves, because it is a choice, we allow ourselves to focus on the income generating activities, the things that are going to actually bring us business. This is the focus that we have for our entire system. This is something that we've been, again, deploying for years and years and years. And with that deployment has allowed us to do a lot of trial and error, which at this point, I think we only have just the results, the good results. We're not seeing as much errors, which is good. But once again, the lead stacking system / matrix that we have is focused on income generating activities. And I'm going to give you the income generating activities here shortly. It allows us to build a sustainable business. Goes back to that. Goes back to the what I was saying a couple of seconds ago, where it allows us to build a sustainable business without burning out, without us overspending, without us having to guess if it's going to work out. So there's that insecurity, there's that doubt in our real estate business. Hey, can we make it? We know that the failure rate in real estate is insanely high. We know that it's over 85%. So we want to be somebody that actually makes it and thrives in this business. So that's what the entire matrix is around, the entire lead stacking system that we have. And it's going to give you structure to your day. Oftentimes when I speak with real estate agents, they're one of their questions is, hey, what am I supposed to be doing? Right? So I was at this, I was working at X, Y, and Z. Now I'm not. I'm pursuing real estate full time. I just don't know what to do. Right? So I wake up and I do things, I do work, I get busy work, but at the end of the day, I'm not seeing the results. Well, it's because there's not as much structure in place. We don't necessarily know what to focus on. And that's what this is designed to overcome. This is going to allow you to actually build a system that works together, works with cohesiveness. So everything that you're working on builds on top of each other. So let's unpack that for a second as we get into our matrix here. All right, so the fundamentals needed at this point. We've talked about this in other videos, but we're going to very, very, very briefly summarize what needs to happen at this point, what needs to have been done in order for you to deploy this strategy. So what needs to happen at this point is you need to know what days and times you're going to be working in your business. That is absolutely critical. So you knowing when it is that you're going to be putting in your deposits into your business, meaning the inputs, the energy, the effort, right? So the same way that if you were to go work at Kohl's as an example, well, the managers there at Kohl's is going to give you your schedule, and guess what? You're expected to show up. What a concept, right? Well, we as entrepreneurs, we have the luxury of working and not working. We have the option of working or not working. So the decision is up to you. With real estate, a lot of us get into this industry with the expectation, with the hope that we're going to get time and freedom and financial freedom as well. So time freedom and financial freedom. That's our desire. That's why we get into this sales role. That's why we get into a position where we have unlimited upside. So our dream, if we can dream it, we can achieve it in this real estate business. Now, the downside is that we don't put some parameters in place in order for us to achieve that. So knowing your schedules is fundamental. You need to know with clarity when it is that you're working. If you're working on Wednesdays from 2 to 8 p.m., make sure that you meet that Wednesday to 2 to 8 p.m. commitment that you made for your business. Right? Same way that you don't want to get written up at Kohl's. I've been thinking about Kohl's for a while, or any other departments or any other place of business, whether you work at Napa or whatever the case may be, whatever industry floats your boat. Same way that we have those schedules, we need schedules for our business. You need to know when you're going to show up for your business. Now that's, again, just knowing when you're going to work. That's fundamental. Now, what you need to be focusing on now as we get into some strategy, now as we get a little bit more tactical, where are our efforts going to go, right? So this is what we start unpacking. We know that we're going to be working, let's say 30 hours a week, 50 hours a week, let's say 60 just for fun. We know that we're going to be working 60 hours a week, and we've already positioned that in our week, right? We're being very aggressive with our growth strategy. Well, what do we need to fill those 60 hours with? Well, let's go back. Let's go 30. Let's not make it too intimidating, because let's go with 30. What are we going to be doing within those 30 hours? So to unpack it further, to give you a really clear picture on what it needs to look like, we have the 10-80-10 or 80-10-10. So depending on how you want to say it. So we'll stick with the 80-10-10 for now. So the 80-10-10 is based off of where your effort is going to go. 10% of your time that you've allocated to your business, which is 30 hours in this particular example, 30 hours a week, 10% of the time is preparing for the business. So what does that mean? That means you learning how contracts work, you learning how to write contracts, you learning how to do negotiations, you learning the business itself. So when the time comes, you're able to do it. So this is preparation, this is training, if you will. 10% of our time should be focused here. 80% of our time should be focused on getting the business. This is you getting a buyer. This is you getting a seller. So if you could be the most trained individual on the face of this planet on the real estate commission contracts or any contracts that you're given, you could be the expert contracts person. But if you don't have a buyer that raises up their hand and says, hey, I want to buy, you are going out of business quickly. You are going to be so well versed with the real estate contract when you're working at Kohl's. I mean, it's the reality of the situation. So 80% of our time that we give to our business is spent on getting the business. So this means prospecting, which is a large part of what we're going to talk about today. In fact, that's what we are talking about today, the lead stacking matrix. We're going to be spent on following up. It's going to be spent on getting somebody from lead mode, somebody that's a lead, somebody that is considering using us as their agent, into client mode, somebody that has hired us for the business, somebody that has hired us to help buy or help sell, right? So there's a difference. There's the lead, and then there's the client. So ultimately, we of course want more clients, but it starts out with the lead, right? So 80% of our time of the 30 hours in this particular example that we have is going to be spent on getting the business. And 10% of the time, especially as we get started, it's going to be spent on actually working the business. This is the showing homes. This is the negotiating. This is contracting. Ideally, we want to spend all of our time doing this. These are highly valuable return on investment activities. So essentially generating revenue generating activities. But we realize that if we're just building up our book of business, there's not business to be had. we could spend 100% of our time working the business, but when we start out in the business, once again, we're just not going to have it, right? So as we start building up our pipeline, you're going to notice that 10% of your time is a very good time spent preparing to do the business. 80% of the time is procuring business, getting the business. 10% of the time is working the business, so working the clients, showing homes, contracting. And as you advance in your career, the beauty is that these ratios change. These ratios are going to change where you're going to be spending a bulk of your time actually working the business, right? Because you build successful channels to generate the real estate clients that you're ultimately going to be working. And that's what we're going to address today. how to build a successful channels, how to build a successful lead capture or lead funnel to where you don't have to go out and work 100 hours a week. I'm going to show you that framework right now. So our entire lead stacking system is based off of 4 pillars. So if you want to visualize a table and then envision 4 legs, good. Let's do that one as well. So whatever visual will help you understand that we need to focus on 4 ways to bring in business that will work together, that's cohesive. That's the answer. So our lead stacking system is based off of working our sphere of influence. So this is our SOI, as we have come to know. The active strategy is active prospecting. This is you actively bringing in new business. So essentially actively prospecting for new business. So it's that outbound hustle. Passive marketing. This is where you build an asset, so such as a YouTube channel, to where people come to you while you are sleeping, while you are working on something else. So once you lay down the bear trap, if you will, then somebody comes over and steps on it, right? So it's you building an inbound mechanism, right? So this is you being more of a farmer where you're tilling the soil, and we're going to get into some more analogies that will land the plane here shortly, I promise. So the 4th is our social media presence. This is visibility. This is visibility and conversion. So number 1, we're going to focus on our sphere of influence. Number 2 is we're going to focus on one active strategy, one active prospecting strategy where we're trading time for results. We're going to focus on one passive marketing strategy where we're building that inbound mechanism, that asset that we're building. And then number 4 is that social media presence. We don't need to do all social media, but we do need to do one. Social media is no longer optional if you're going to convert and grow the type of business that you're looking for. All right, so let me know in the comment section what questions you have. Let me know in the comment section if there's something that is unclear. By all means, let's have a conversation. Happy to support you in any way that I can. Now, if you're watching this replay, let me know. Hit replay, type in replay, or type in leads down below. It's going to help out the algorithm. All right, so lead stacking, that's the structure. That's where we're going to start unpacking. Now, keep in mind, once again, we're following this in order. Number 1, we need to establish when we're working, days and times it's going to do. Number 2 is if we're in growth mode, knowing that it's 80-10-10. 80% of our time is getting the business, 10% is preparing for the business, 10% is working the business. Now, as you expand, as you grow, these ratios change. The majority of your time, ideally, is going to be spent working the business once you become that rainmaker that you were destined to be, right? All right, so let's talk about each one of these pillars. Let's talk about each one of these in its totality, so you have an idea of what we're talking about here from our sphere of influence. Now, our sphere of influence is somebody that is around you. Somebody, if you feel obligated, here's the very simple test that I heard from actually one of the most successful agents that I am aware of. So George Philbeck out of Florida, he's the one that taught me this. So he's a former #1 Keller Williams agent worldwide. So he's the one that taught me this analogy, or essentially who would categorize as my sphere of influence. If you see an individual at the grocery store and you feel obligated to go over and say hi, it's probably somebody that should be on your sphere of influence. That's somebody you have a level of influence with. That's somebody that knows you. They may not like you, but there's an element of influence that you have over them or they have over you, or else you wouldn't feel that need or compelled to go and say hi, right? So this is your family, this is your friends, past coworkers, past clients, referrals, all this fun stuff, right? These are people that are in your sphere that you have an element of influence over. Now, not manipulation, but a level of influence for you. So if somebody said, hey, what did you think of that movie that you saw, and you said, no, don't watch it, it's not going to be worth your time. Well, you're probably going to take that person's opinion over somebody else that you just randomly asked, hey, what did you think of that movie? You're going to have more of a say, if you will, right? So your sphere of influence is absolutely critical. There's no top producer on the face of this planet that doesn't have a sphere of influence that they go back to time and time and again to build their real estate business. So in other words, this is the bedrock of your business. If in order for you to run a successful SOI or successful sphere of influence, you need to be taking out 8 to 12 transactions from that SOI yearly. So what does this mean? That means from your sphere of influence, if they don't use you to help them buy or sell, that's okay. They might use you next year, but with your SOI, they need to introduce you into their SOI. So if you have 100 people in your SOI, if they can introduce you to at least 10 people within their network, then that's 1,000 people, right? So 100 people in your SOI, each one of them gives you 10 people to connect with. That's 1,000 people that you have some influence over now. So it's very important that we understand that. It's very important. So it's the highest trust, lowest cost, and the fastest conversions if done right. So I'll give you a very simple message that you can start messaging your sphere of influence with. You can DM your sphere of influence right now, or text your sphere of influence right now. Hey, who do you know? Who do you know that's considering buying right now and is having a hard time getting their offers accepted? Send that DM out. You're going to really, really be surprised at the results. You send that to your SOI right now, it's going to be gangbusters. Now, non-negotiables, you're going to be reaching out to your sphere of influence. Now, a simple framework that we have, I've shared this in the channel before, but I'm going to go into this very briefly right now. Your sphere of influence is not somebody that you should be spending or need to spend hours and hours and hours a day on. Now, if you do, that's okay. That's your prerogative, but it's not necessary. With your sphere of influence, a simple follow-up system that you're going to see here is going to do more than enough. So here you're following up with everybody in your sphere of influence based off of the first letter of their last name. So as an example, my last name is Resendiz, so it starts with an R. That's the 18th letter in the alphabet. So on the 18th day, because based off of the R, so the letters positioned in the alphabet. So again, my last name is Resendiz. Since R is the 18th letter in the alphabet, I match it to the 18th day in the month. So what that means is I reach out to everybody with the last name that starts with R on the 18th. If their last name starts with S, I reach out to them on the 19th. So if their last name is Edwards, so it starts with E, that's the 5th day of the month. Johnson, 10th is the 10th letter in the alphabet, that's the 10th day of the month. If you break your SOI down into this follow-up system, this means that you don't have to follow up with 100 people in your SOI in one day. This is separated. It's very easy to follow based off of their first letter and the last name. So you're going to find that all the people with the first letter of their alphabet being D, as in dog, I guess, so D, that's the 4th letter in the alphabet. That means that you're reaching out on the 4th day of the month. If you break things down like this, you're going to find that instead of reaching out to 100 people in one day and not being able to do it and being so exhausted and really want to quit and not want to do this again, you're breaking it down to 26 days. Why? Well, because there's 26 letters in the alphabet. All right, so it's one of the easiest things, one of the easiest frameworks that you can deploy in your business that's going to help you be consistent with follow-up. Now, one huge mistake that we have is, and this is taught a lot by brokers, this is taught a lot by real estate schools out there, only calling when you need business. So this is a good way for you to not get your phone picked up the following day, the following month, right? So if people catch a clue very quickly, right? So people that are in your sphere, let's say they're a friend or you consider them a friend and they do as well, they'll pick up the phone for you the first time. The second time, they start catching a pattern. They start catching on to something, right? So if you're calling just for the sake of, hey, I need business type of a conversation, very quickly they're going to send you to voicemail. And maybe they might have the courtesy of listening to your voicemail that first time, but after that, your phone is no longer valid in their contacts list. So you lose a contact if we're being completely blunt, right? So you need to stay visible throughout the year. So whenever you're reaching out, it's not all about me. It's about how can I support you. And we have another video that talks all about how to actually do your sphere of influence, but I wanted to give you that today. All right, so let me know if you have any questions on the SOI. Happy to address it as we get going. Now let's talk about our active strategy, active prospecting. This is you actively going and securing the business. This is now business. Our sphere of influence, again, we're going to get 8 to 12 transactions if you work the system that I'm sharing with you today and are in front of people systematically. In the active prospecting strategy, we just need one of these. We don't need to do everything. So here, this is your accelerator. This is the now business. This is where you trade time for results. So this is your open houses of the world. This is your cold calls of the world. This is your door knocking. This is text marketing. These are things that you direct messaging people on social media. This is where you are actively trading time for results. Meaning, if you don't pick up that phone that in the morning to prospect, then you're not going to get another lead. If you don't go and host that open house, then no one's going to come and give you their contact information by signing into the open house. This requires time. This is exchanging time for results, right? So with an active strategy, you only need one. You don't need to do open houses and cold calling and door knocking and text marketing and this and that and the other, right? So you just need to do one. Now, when it comes to the non-negotiables, here's you're looking to do this multiple times per week. So bare minimum, we're looking 2 to 3 times per week. If you can swing 5 times a week, if you're cold calling, awesome. But if you're doing open houses as an example, then open houses do require at least 2 open houses per week in order for you to have a successful channel built out. And super important, you want and need to track results. At the end of the day, if you don't track the results, then you don't know where you can improve. I'll give you an example. Let's say with the open houses, you're doing all these open houses and nobody is showing up to your open houses. Well, that's a problem. Are you selecting the right house? Are you marketing the house aggressively enough? Are you promoting that house to where somebody shows up? I'll give you another example. Let's stay with the open houses, let's go with cold calling. Let's say you're tracking the results. Let's say you're cold calling here and you make 100 calls and nobody's ever given you their phone number. Their email or their contact information. Well, that probably means that you need to improve your skill set. That probably means that you need to update your script. That probably means that you need to change the way that you're communicating when you're reaching out, right? So again, you only need one of these active strategies. Now, one of the problems that happens is we just have random activity with no tracking. So we might get inspired because we saw a YouTube video here and there, and we'll make a few calls one day and we don't make another call for 2 more weeks. Happens to everybody, happens to me, right? So this is random activity with no tracking is a good way to see no results, get frustrated, and then at the end of that first year of you being in real estate, or the 100th year of you being in real estate, you become so jaded thinking that no activities work, no strategies work because they didn't work for you. Well, the reality is that you didn't work them enough to see them through. All right, so what we're looking here is for time blocking and measured execution, meaning you're measuring what's happening. You're measuring the amount of calls, the amount of conversations, the amount of appointments, the amount of buy rep agreements signed or listings signed, right? So again, now that we have one SOI, so one sphere of influence done, now that we have one active strategy to pursue, now we added the third part of our business. This is lead stacking. Once again, goes true to its name. We're looking to stack 4 ways to build our business cohesively. The third is passive inbound marketing. So passive marketing is, once again, we just need one of these, is where you set the table once, or you let's do a better analogy, where you do your action once and then results start happening later on. So as an example, you publish a YouTube video today, it's going to work in 1 month. It's going to work in 2 months. It's going to work in 3 months. This is something that will continue to grow. Blogging, you publish that blog today, it will be seen tomorrow. It'll be seen a month from now. It'll be seen beyond that. So you build it once and it attracts people to you. This is really where true freedom comes from, because that doesn't mean that you have to continue doing the cold calling as aggressively. Now, I encourage you to continue doing that for now business, but the more that you continue to build up your passive inbound channels, the less that you have to work on the active. So we only have so much time in the day. Now, remember, we've already set the days that we're working, and 80% of the time we're focused on what we're going to be doing. So building the business. This is where these 4 mechanisms or these 4 channels come from. Now, per week, you need some time to actually deploy these strategies. So that's why you're doing let's say cold calling, you're doing that 3 times a week. Well, the rest of the time that you're planning to work, give yourself 1 to 2 days to start recording YouTube videos. This is how you get out of that hamster wheel, right? So if you dedicate your Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays to cold calling, and Tuesdays and Thursdays to working on YouTube videos, then you have a very sustainable business to where you're going to soon see the YouTube channel start exceeding anything that you could have built on a one-to-one level, on a call-to-call level. I'll give you an example. Franco, he has a wildly successful YouTube channel. It's about 150,000 subscribers at this point. So he started deploying this system in 2021. We helped him build his YouTube channel. We're doing coaching every single week, and we continue doing coaching every single week. So on Thursdays, that's my coaching day with Franco. So every single week since 2021, he's been doing one-on-one coaching with myself. And ever since we started in 2021, he deployed this system. So he had his SOI, has an active strategy. His was prospecting door to door. And then he built his YouTube channel that exploded after 6 months. And now he's closing 20 to 40 transactions per month pretty comfortably across the country. So he has a lot of referral partners. That was built in a systematic way. If he could still realistically be door knocking. And if he's wildly effective at it, he could continue doing that and start seeing results and continue seeing results. But had he not focused and dedicated his afternoon and evenings to recording videos and publishing them, then he wouldn't see the results that he's seeing today, right? So that's just an example of working through the system. Now, unfortunately, the big challenge here is, hello, the official lounge. Now, the big challenge here is that you're quitting too early. So with a passive strategy, it's not now results. It's not immediate results. The challenge that's the challenge. That's the frustration part. So oftentimes we lack a little bit of patience and a little bit of vision. So we're quitting too early. So you need to treat this as an asset that you're building. It's treated as a long-term investment. Treat this as the farmer would, where you are planting the seed, cultivating it, and eventually you have the corn. You have the crop that you can harvest. Active strategies, that is you being a hunter. You need to go actively and hunt something. You need to actively go and get food for the table today. Passive, it's not expected. Passive is you building something, sustaining it, maintaining it, and then eventually you're going to see the payoff. That's that long-term investment. So essentially, this is you depositing into the stock market to where it actually works out for you. Now, the fourth pillar to this lead stacking system is the social platform. So this is where you have to stay top of mind. This is where you get to stay top of mind. You get to leverage all of these platforms that are created, the Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, X's of the world. This is where you get to leverage a platform that was created that has millions and billions of people that you can create content for and get in front of them. Same, this whenever Facebook was created, I don't know, 2004, 2000, something like that. That's been such an amplifier for real estate agents across the country, across the globe. It's the easiest way, or I shouldn't say easiest, the simplest way to build a business rapidly. And this is a part of our system. Social media is no longer optional. That's why we need at least one of these social media platforms in our business today. We need to stay top of mind and convert leads. So we're talking about, again, Facebook, the Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. We just need one of these, because we've already paired it with our sphere of influence, one active strategy, one passive marketing strategy, and then one social media platform. You're looking to do daily content here. This is the reels, this is the posts, this is the stories. You're overthinking content. That's one big mistake that happens with social media. The easiest thing, the simplest, I should say simplest instead of easiest, the simplest thing that you can do for your social media strategy is documenting what you're doing. If you're going to a listing appointment, let people know. If you're going to a buyer appointment, let people know. If you're showing a home, let people know. People find our line of profession interesting. They find that when they're working from 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever their schedule is, and they see somebody out and about going and seeing a phenomenal home, going out there and helping people, going out there and essentially building a business, that's enticing. That's reality TV. That's why live streams are so valuable right now, so important. You have mega live streamers literally just living life. There's nothing special about them. right? The only difference is that they have somebody that is following them around doing a live stream, and then they're living life. So that is absolutely huge. So, and it's something that you can replicate here in your business as well. Documenting is what I'm saying. So when you pair these together, you're going to find a very healthy system that's going to bring you business very systematically. Your sphere of influence, that should be producing business for you pretty quickly. Active, this is where you're actively prospecting and securing business. Passive marketing, you're building assets that are essentially bringing people to you. And then one social media platform. As far as real estate is concerned, I have not seen a more powerful, a simpler way to grow your business. There's way too many people that have seen success by following this lead stacking system to believe otherwise. So if you're looking for an effective way to actually grow your real estate business in today's market and in tomorrow's market, follow this path, and you're going to see that for the most part. I didn't talk anything about Facebook ads or talk about really any advertising. You can deploy this system at no cost to you and still see dramatic results, right? You don't have to spend $1 billion on ad spend. That's not what this system was built around. It was built on being efficient and being low cost, aka free. So you can deploy this today without having experience, without having to spend thousands of dollars. This is something that if you are looking for where your next lead is going to come from, where your next client is going to come from, there's no more powerful, effective system that you can do than this lead stacking system. Thanks so much. Hopefully this provided some value to you. Let me know in the comment section down below. If you have any questions, let me know which of these lead strategies you're deploying today in your business. And with that being said, I'll see you tomorrow for our daily live stream.